What's going on, guys? Welcome to this brand new channel where we're going to be actually putting all of our dirt bike related content. If you came here from my other channel, then you already know what's going on. If you don't know what's going on, I'll do another video doing a bit more backstory and what the hell is going on with this channel. For now, I'm gonna go through a little bit of a birthday. We're giving our beautiful 92 CR125. So I'll explain a bit more in another video, but the long and short of it is that me and my brother Rex here both haven't ridden in 8 years, nearly. Just about, it's going on 8 years. So I had an accident 8 years ago, banged up my arm. I'll explain that a bit later on, but pretty much since then, I've only ridden very short bursts for multiple reasons, which I'll go into another video, but for the most part, we really just haven't ridden dirt bikes for, the best part of 8 years. So it's super washed up. We sort of got to a point with our business that we wanted to have a bit more of a outlet to get us away from what we do at work. A bit of backstory on this bike. Rex actually picked this up when he was in Mount Isa for a very good price a few years ago. We finally got it down here. A couple of our mates bought it down, and we've ended up with it down here, which is awesome. So basically, huge fan of 90s two-strokes, huge fan of this bike. I'll go through the bike in its own little video. So we do one day intend of doing like a full proper restore on this thing, but for now it is actually a bike that we want to ride. So we want to ride it. It got here. There are a few things that were real sad on it. We want to go for a ride this weekend because it's Rex's birthday today. So sort of first easing back into it, I suppose you'd say. There's still a lot of the bike that needs doing, but there are a few things that really just definitely needed attending to before we went for a ride this weekend, and that's what we're doing today. I really should have started filming this yesterday when I started, but I just really didn't feel like filming yesterday. So here we are, starting today. So as you can see, I got the old girl mostly pulled apart. When we got it, it wasn't running. I actually just pulled the carb out, gave the carb just a real good going through and a clean up, put a new plug in it. We got it running. It runs freaking sweet. This bike actually feels quite strong. If you look at the gaskets in the case, they actually look fairly new. A lot of this hardware looks fairly new, and if anyone knows these bikes from factory, the engines were all painted black. So someone's definitely rebuilt this at some point. How long ago, we're not sure. It doesn't feel like it's got a lot of compression on the starter, but that being said, it is only a 125, so honestly, it could be fine. Unfortunately, we got this oversized tank. I'm not upset about the oversized tank because we do a lot of enduro riding, but I would really like to get hold of a standard 92 tanks for restoration purposes, but trying to find one at this stage is going to be freaking hard. So anyway, that was the first point of call. Got that sorted, bike ran. As you can see, this case is a bit damaged. It's still sealed, but when we do a restoration, probably be looking for another left side engine case. But anyway, so a few of the things that really desperately needed attention before we went for a ride this weekend was the handlebars. They are bent to buggery. Super bent handlebars. So we've got a new set of handlebars. I ended up going with the reed bend in the 7/8. I used to ride with the reed bend on my YZs. I've always been a big fan of that bend. Being both of us are quite tall, I found the reed bend to be a really good mix of having a fairly good sweep and height for a bar for a tall person, but also not so far swept and so high that it feels like you're sitting in the bike. It still feels like you're sitting on it. So definitely my favorite bend of bar from back when I used to do a lot of racing. So I got that here. New bars, we've got new grips, and I've got blister busters because we haven't ridden so long, we're definitely going to need those. Another thing that desperately needed attention was the linkage. This linkage was screwed. This is what fell apart when I started pulling it apart. As you can see, this has been very neglected. Very dry, it's pretty much seized. And the bottom shock mount is also seized, which has caused a little bit of damage on this linkage. I'm not too worried about it, but it is a bit of a pain. So full linkage bearing kit going in. I didn't buy swing arm bearings and they feel okay, but I pulled the swing arm out because I'm just going to grease them up while I'm at it. So they get some grease, but I think they'll be all right for a bit longer. So that's that. So we've got a full All Balls Racing linkage bearing kit here to go in, which will be all nice and fresh. The other thing was the chain and sprocket that was on this thing were pretty cooked. So chain here, unravel that a bit. Oh, there's a needle. Huzzah. So, the old chain here was doing a fair bit of this. Not what you want in a chain. So the chain was cooked, and the sprocket that was on this thing is also pretty cooked. As you can see, the chain started to actually eat into the center of the sprocket. It's all leaning over one way. Cooked sprocket. It is an alloy sprocket, so they aren't, they don't last forever. The spoke's not sitting properly. So anyway, that sprocket was cooked. It's also a 50 tooth. These things standard are 13 and 51, but someone's obviously put a 50 on this. So I actually bought a 51 because we both haven't ridden for so long. I really don't think we're gonna need to gear this thing that way. So I went for a 51, just bought a cheap chain. The front sprocket didn't look too bad, so I decided not to replace it for now. The other thing, guys, is we didn't have heaps of budget to throw at this thing, so it was a bit of a budget setup just to get us riding for now. So it was very much just a by the bare bones minimum that this thing needs to get us riding for now, and we'll worry about other stuff later on down the track. So we don't know if that's the gearing we're going to want to keep. So I just went for a Super Sprox steel rear sprocket. They were the cheapest that I could get, and just a cheap RK chain. It's not even an O-ring. So we'll run that for now, get a bit of a feel for the bike, see how we want it geared, and sure enough, by the time that we've gone through that chain and we want to change the gearing, well then at that point we'll probably replace the front and the rear to get the right gearing we want, and at that point we'll buy a decent chain. But for now, we didn't really know what we want, so it wasn't worth spending the extra money to do it. So we've got that. The chain guide was also cooked. That was just absolutely cooked. So I got a new one of them, an RHK one. So that's ready to go on. The upper roller on the frame was gone. It's not even there. Just bearings left. So the roller's completely gone. So I've got a new one of them. So I've got a new upper roller. The bottom roller was fine, and the actual chain slide on the swing arm is actually also pretty fine. So I didn't bother replacing those. So just an upper roller, a new chain guide, new chain and rear sprocket, going back to stock gearing. So that's what's going on there. So the swing arm will go back together with new linkage bearings. We'll grease up the swing arm and we'll do the chain and sprockets. And that's that. New bars, grips, that'll be that. Obviously we'll be doing a gearbox oil service. We've got a new air filter here as well, somewhere to go into it. It's over there, it's blown off in the wind. So we'll put a fresh air filter in it. New air filter oil. I don't know how bad this one is, but it has been sitting for quite a while, so we will just see what happens when we go to clean that up, how bad that foam is. But anyway, that'll be enough for us to get riding. Oh, the other thing is the Kickstarter that was on it, the spring was gone. So the Kickstarter was flopping all around the place. We were using this bit of twine to hold it in. So we've got a new Bollard's Kickstarter with a spring, so that's going to help out quite a bit as well. So that is going to be enough for us to get riding on this thing until we sort of learn a bit more about the bike. Obviously, I'm assuming the suspension is going to all be needing a rebuild. That's probably going to be one of the first things we'll attend to. I'm a big suspension guy, always been a suspension guy. There's no point in having a fast bike if you can't ride it fast. The suspension allows you to ride a fast bike fast. It also allows you to ride a slow bike fast, but if you don't have the right suspension, you can't do anything. It's terrible. So a big suspension guy, so that'll be getting attended to very soon. I'm going to try and get onto the bloke who used to do my suspension back when I was racing, see if he's still going about it, see if he's happy to do some suspension. But honestly, just from riding it around here, the motor seems strong, changes gears fine, nothing else with that that's really a problem. So a few other things that weren't so urgent. The bushing in this brake pedal was pretty screwed, but it still works, so we didn't really bother doing anything with that at this point. The foot pegs are two different foot pegs, if you can notice that, which is fun. And this one doesn't have a spring. It's also missing the safety pin for the actual pin for the peg, so just need to put a split pin through that to save that. But again, not a super urgent thing. Will do for now. We'll have to buy a pair of new foot pegs for this thing. So as you can see with this thing, we've got a DET pipe and a Pro Circuit silencer, which I cleaned up quite a bit yesterday. Cleaned her all up, tried to get it as sort of as good as we can. It does need a bit of a repack, but I'll worry about later. So I will repack that eventually, but not worried about it at the moment. The other thing is pretty much all of the exhaust joints were leaking. So I will be using some Ultra Copper to try and seal that exhaust back up when it goes back on for now. Bit of Ultra Copper should get the job done, should get it sealed, and we should be all good there and we should be happy days. Anyway, like I said, guys, I do plan on eventually doing a complete resto on this bike, but in the meantime, it is a bike that we want to ride. And like I said, the motor seems healthy, apart from that case being damaged. Everything else about the motor seems fine. So we're just gonna get it running, ride it, see how it goes. At the very least, we'll get some new plastics on the thing fairly soon and some graphics just to sort of, so it doesn't look so ratty. I would like to sort of at least pull it down and paint the frame white again. I don't know who painted this frame black, but these things weren't black frame from factory, they were white. You can see the white on the frame there, and the white frame does look a lot better. But anyway, again, all later issues not going to affect how it rides, so we'll just get it riding first and see what other issues we have to attend to. So let's get into it. All right, so this is how I'm doing the linkage bearings, doing the old socket and the vise trick. Plenty of ways you can do this. You can do it with a press, however, I have a particular disdain for our press. It annoys me. So I find the vise just a lot easier for these, and they shouldn't be pressed so hard that you need a press. You should be able to do it in a vise properly, but I won't make any tutorials or anything on this. There's plenty of tutorials already out there on YouTube. I don't think I could do one any better. I didn't really start this channel to make tutorials, but just thought I'd show you how it's going down. So got the first one out. That was the one that was particularly damaged and seized. I tried to do this one without damaging everything too much. It's always nice to keep it sort of fresh, but the seals in this one were so stuck in there that I had to actually wreck the seals just to get them out of this one. So anyway, we'll get this all completely empty so that I can clean it up once again in the caustic degreaser. Have it all cleaned up and then put all the freshies in it all at once. So to do the bearings in this link, I've actually had to use a internal bearing puller because I believe that there's like a bit of a sleeve. That's what this little notch is here. So you can't actually push the bearings all the way through. So a little bearing puller to pull them out, which is a little unexpected, but lucky obviously in an automotive workshop we've got all the tools to do so. Righto guys, so we've got all fresh bearings. Yeehaw, ready to go. I've also given the swing arm a really good cleanup, as you can see, and re-greased the swing arm bearings, which weren't too bad. Obviously just needed some fresh grease, but they should be right for now, for a bit longer. So that's all happy days. We're ready to start putting this thing back together now. I greased all the bolt shanks while I had the grease out and the gloves on before I put all that away. So they're all ready to go as well. Bolt shanks greased up, so let's get this thing back together now. Anyway, I just wanted to get all those pressed in and done. And now I'm gonna head to the bike shop, get some air filter oil and some gearbox oil for this thing so that I can finish that off. Righto guys, have returned. Got some gearbox oil and some air filter oil. They only sold the spray-on stuff, so I guess we've got to be lazy. It wouldn't sell just the regular oil. Anyway, so we'll do a bit of a gearbox service, then we'll start whacking it back together. Actually might get it mostly back together with the swing arm and rear wheel and stuff so that I can actually set it on wheels to do the gearbox service. It's going to be a lot easier than trying to do it on that stand. All right guys, we're moving along here. This is taking a lot longer than I had actually expected. It's been nearly all day. Well, it started yesterday, taking it apart, but anyway. Swing arm's back on. The linkage is all back together and looking awesome. Working great, so that's really good. Managed to get a new sprocket on. Just used the old sprocket bolts, Loctited the shit out of them though, so fingers crossed they don't cause any problems. Normally I'd always put new ones on, but for all those reasons that I explained about this being a semi-temporary news chain and sprocket, I didn't buy new bolts. So hopefully that doesn't come back to haunt me. The wheel bearings are going to need doing next time around as well. I definitely have to go through once I've finished doing this other stuff and tighten a few of these spokes. Some of them are quite loose, so that's all right. Anyway, that's a bit later. I just wanted to get it rolling so I can jump this oil, which there is not a lot of in there. There is definitely not as much gearbox oil in there as there should be, so who knows when this was last changed. I'm really glad that I didn't ride for too long the other day, just riding around here. I didn't take it for too long, so, but anyway, that's all right. Still, gearbox is working fine. We're going in onto it now, putting some fresh oil in it, so no harm, no foul, but definitely been a bit neglected, the old girl. So new air filters oiled up and in there. I've got our new upper roller here. I Loctited that as well, just because it's going into the frame and because of the way the chain's spinning against it, it's always wanting to undo, so I Loctited that. I fixed this slider a little bit, put the bottom roller back on, so that's all back together. So we're pretty much ready to adjust this all the way in and we'll get a chain on it. And then this part of the bike is sort of finished. For reference, these are supposed to take 600 mils of oil, which I reckon there's probably at least a good 300 mils missing out of there, probably more. She's a bit sparkly too, so anyway, that's all right. It is what it is. All right, we've actually got 600 mils of gearbox oil in her now. So here I might work on now starting to fit up the exhaust back up, getting some ultra copper onto that so that it can have time to set while I finish off the rest of the bike after that. So look at that and check this out. And boop, and it stays in. How good. Rex is most excited about this more than anything else we're doing to this bike today. Rex reckons from when he was riding this bike in Mount Isa, the most annoying thing was the kickstarter not having the spring in it. So he's most excited about having a kickstarter that will actually just go away and stay there. So that's freaking sick. Righto, boys and girls, she's all going back together. Starting to look like a dirt bike again. Got our fresh sprocket, fresh chain, new chain guide. How good's all that? I put a split pin on the foot peg. So it still has no spring, but at least it's got a split pin in it. But yeah, all looking really good. So pretty much now, just got to do the handlebars, get these gross old grips off, and I do have to just run around both wheels and check all the spokes because there's a fair few loose ones on that which I'll have to tighten up. So, and after that we are ready to go for a ride tomorrow. Righto guys, after a very long day, we are ready to ride pretty much. So we've got new bars, new grips, ready and sorted. A few zip ties on a few places that I needed to put zip ties. I actually let out the air, relieved the air in the forks, and both O-rings on the bleeders were rooted, which was nearly scary because that nearly was bad, but it's all good. I managed to MacGyver a few up for now, which will help us at least get us through tomorrow. But apart from that, we're ready to go. So ready and rearing. You can see how bent the old bars were here. Very, very bent, so they were no good. Righto guys, just went for a little blast around, it's going awesome. So that's it for this video guys, that's all I really wanted to show you for now. Tune in next time, we'll actually be going for a ride, see how unfit we are. It's gonna be fun, maybe, or very painful, or both. We'll see. So anyway, we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers guys, thanks for watching, peace out, see you, bye.